Hi everyone and welcome to Travel Edu Stories, where I post visual logs of my travels throughout the world. In this video, I talk about the trip I took to Everest Base Camp, accompanied by photographs. Enjoy! Our adventure in the Himalayas began many years ago, when we first started thinking about this journey and gathering info about the trip. Although passionate about mountains and with enough experience both in the homeland and other countries and continents, I knew from the beginning that the trek to Everest Base Camp would be different, and I was not wrong. Different how, you might ask? Different in many ways. Starting from the sheer size of those mountains, their altitude, distances, weather, everything is a challenge. Our journey begins with a line drawn across the map of the world. Leaving behind the familiar streets of Bucharest, Romania, the journey takes us thousands of kilometers to the east. We transit through the modern hub of Dubai before turning our eyes towards South Asia. The destination is Kathmandu, the vibrant gateway to the mountains. We are heading for the Himalayas, a name that comes from the Sanskrit and means the land of snows. Although this mountain range is the youngest in the world, it is also the largest. It is massive, covering over 500,000 square kilometers. The range is divided into three zones: the lower Simalik Hills, the lower Himalaya, and the high Himalaya, where the peaks rise above 4,000 meters. In fact, all 14 of the world's peaks over 8,000 meters are located in Asia, in those mountains. We arrived in Kathmandu, the capital of Nepal, situated at an altitude of 1,400 meters. The name of the city comes from Kathmandu, which translates to wood shelter, named after a temple built in the 7th century that sadly collapsed during the 2015 earthquake. It is an interesting city, very vibrant and busy, with lots of cars and motorcycles constantly on the move. The food is delicious and the stores are all inviting you to purchase merchandise for everyone and every tourist expectation. The valley of Kathmandu has been inhabited since the 2nd century, and it is the cultural home of the Newar people. Today, it is a busy metropolitan area with about 4 million people. It is a mix of cultures and religions, mostly Hindu, but you will also find Buddhism, Sikhism, and even around 170 Christian churches. Just 13 kilometers away is Bhaktapur, known as the City of Devotees. It is the smallest city in Nepal and also the most densely populated. Bhaktapur is famous for its medieval architecture, pottery, and vibrant traditions. It is also considered the capital of music and dance, with over 200 traditional dances performed here. To start the trek, we have to leave the city of Kathmandu. In the busy seasons of spring and autumn, flights often leave from Ramechhap instead of Kathmandu, to manage air traffic. Ramechhap is a small town with no hotels, so travelers often stay in local homes while waiting for their flight. While waiting, visitors can explore the area, perhaps seeing the first cheese factory in Nepal or the Kanda Devi temple. Ramechhap is not a particularly nice city, but the surroundings are beautiful. Although there are only 140 kilometers or so between the two cities, the road from Kathmandu to Ramechhap takes around 6 hours because it is full of holes and needs constant reconstruction. Once we reached Ramechhap, we found accommodation in one of the private houses offered by the inhabitants and just relaxed for the rest of the day. This was all possible with help from Basecamp Hike, the company we hired to help us reach EBC, which we highly recommend. They have very good guides and porters to help you reach your destination. And although it is possible to do this trek entirely independently, I would recommend hiring a local company for two main reasons. They know their way around the area and thus help you achieve your goal, and you get to support the local economy by doing this. Next morning, we woke up at 6 AM and went to the Ramechhap airport, where we waited for our flight to Lukla. The flight takes around 20 minutes and it is an epic one, because of the huge mountains and valleys you are flying over. We had to wait for a couple of hours to get our turn to fly, and around 2 hours later, we took off from Ramechhap and headed to Lukla. We safely landed at the Lukla, or the Tenzing Hillary Airport, named after the famous mountaineers that first climbed Everest in 1953. The runway here is very short, only 527 meters, and has a 12-degree slope, and for this reason it has the reputation for being dangerous, but pilots must have completed at least 100 special landings before they are allowed to fly here, with this style of flying called STOL, S-T-O-L, short takeoff landing. Lukla sits at an altitude of 2,860 meters, and it is a small but well-equipped town with shops, cafes, and lodges. Here you can find just about anything you might need or have forgotten to buy for your trip. And you can also visit the Museum of Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary, or the Memorial Gate of Pasang Lamu, the first Nepali woman to summit Everest. The walking begins. Our first destination is Phagning, a small and beautiful village situated at 2,610 meters. It is a common stop for trekkers located in the Khumbu Valley, near the Dut Koshi River. This area is the entry point of the Sagarmatha National Park. We stop here for the night, and we are greeted with a cozy room and a delicious meal. Overall, all meals on this trip have been very tasty, diverse, and filling. Next, we climbed up to Namche Bazaar, which sits at 3,440 meters. This is the main commercial hub of the region, and most trekkers stop here for a couple of days to acclimatize and avoid altitude sickness. The town has many facilities including bakeries and gear shops, and hosts a market every Tuesday and Saturday. From here, you get your first views of big peaks like Everest or Amadablam. Unfortunately, this was for us our first day of rain, which lasted for 5 consecutive days. Rain, cold, mud, and more rain. And at higher altitudes, snow and wind. But then it got nicer. On our third day, we simply walked around Namche Bazaar and enjoyed the place. We also did a bit of shopping for last-minute merchandise and even bought a pair of winter trekking shoes, which was obviously unplanned. One of our team members got into an unfortunate accident and discovered right before taking the flight to Lukla that the Four Seasons shoes brought for the trek had a major problem. The soles got ripped off the boots. So we were off to some shopping in hope to find the right boots with the right size. Luckily, Namche Bazaar is a place packed with everything you might need, and we also had our guide Pasang Sherpa, who knew just about everyone in each village and arranged to have the boots we needed brought to us the next day by, drumrolls, helicopter. This was a pleasant surprise, and throughout the entire trek the shoes were perfect. No blisters, not even a mild discomfort, just perfect. Moving higher, we reached Tengboche Monastery at 3,860 meters. This village is famous for its monastery, the largest Buddhist center in this region. It is a scenic spot located on a ridge, offering clear views of Everest, Lhotse, and Nuptse. It is a place of peace and tradition, where monks often offer blessings to climbers and trekkers who are passing through on their way to the higher peaks. The road from Namche was, as already mentioned, rainy, cold and muddy. But we reached our destination for the day, the beautiful village of Deboche, at 3,820 meters. We rested here for the day and night and hoped for better weather. Unfortunately, there was a rainy atmospheric front coming from the Gulf of Bengal towards the Himalayas, which meant rain and snow in the higher villages. Further along the trail, we reached Dingboche, a large village at 4,410 meters. The landscape changes here, becoming drier and more alpine. You see fields of potatoes surrounded by stone walls to protect them from the wind. This is another important place to stop and acclimatize before going higher. Nearby is Ferice at 4,370 meters. It sits in a wide, windy valley. The village is known for the Himalayan Rescue Association (HRA), which is a clinic where doctors treat hikers for altitude sickness and give advice on staying healthy. There are also alternative villages on the main path. Forze at 3,840 meters is quieter and home to many Sherpa climbers. Another is Khumbu at 3,780 meters, which has a school founded by Sir Edmund Hillary. On our sixth day, in Dingboche, all we did was relax and enjoy the views and the place. We stayed at Cafe 4410, which is the altitude of the village, and a very nice and cozy place. Well, the views were not so much to enjoy because it was raining and snowing, but for brief moments we also got a glimpse of the beautiful mountains surrounding us, especially Amadablam, which we could see from our accommodation in the village and even from our rooms. Next, we headed for an even higher altitude through the village of Lukla and then Lobuche at almost 5,000 meters, where we stayed for the night. The path and the weather changed from rain and mud to snow, and towards the middle of the day we were awarded with sun and beautiful weather, which remained that way throughout the rest of our journey. From here on, we used our spikes for the shoes. Although not entirely necessary, it is better to be safe than sorry and also helps you in slippery areas. From Lobuche, we did our last stretch before reaching our final destination, Everest Base Camp. We first passed through the small village of Gorakshep, where we slept our last night before descending. Because of the heavy rain and snow from the previous days, many trekkers had to change plans and reroute, so we ended up being more hikers than the place could accommodate. Our entire team of 5 slept in one room, and again our amazing guide managed to find us some mattresses, and we didn't have to sleep on the floor or worse, outside. Everyone there managed to find a place to stay and most managed to reach EBC. In terms of statistics, I read that less than 70% of the people that had to EBC actually reach it for various reasons: fatigue, bad weather, lack of preparation, sickness, and less than 50% of those who begin the trek actually complete it back and forth from Lukla to EBC and return. Many of those who manage to arrive at EBC decide to return by helicopter, which can be used if you are feeling very sick and need to be rescued, in which case you should have a proper high mountain insurance. You should have it either way. Or if you are willing to pay an amount of around $500 to be airlifted and taken back to Lukla or Kathmandu, depending on how you negotiate the trip and price. Luckily, we did manage to arrive at EBC and return to Gorakshep the same evening. One word of caution, especially for the last leg of EBC, people are moving very slowly, and what would take a couple of hours could become a full day of trekking, and this means that you might return to the accommodation by nightfall. So make sure you have the proper clothing and you also have a headlight. Our last night at this higher altitude, 5,200 meters, was less than comfortable, for obvious reasons. 5 in a small room, cold, feeling tired, but with a very good feeling of having achieved our goal. The rest of the journey, 5 more days, was on our way back from EBC through Gorakshep, Lobuche, Lukla and Dingboche, then through some stunning villages that fewer tourists get to see. Again, our guides surprised us and took us through some amazing places like Fortse, Khumbu or Shamare. And in some places around the trek, we felt that the entire mountain, the entire Himalayas was just ours. It was just the 6 of us. Although we were fully acclimatized, each day we descended, our bodies felt better and with more energy. Not being born and raised at such altitudes, our bodies trained to cope with the altitude, the lack of oxygen and effort. 5 days later, we reached Lukla and took our flight back to Ramechhap, then a long 9 hours journey to Kathmandu, which lasted longer than when we came, because of traffic and other reasons that I won't mention here. Overall though, another epic trip back to Kathmandu, where we had another 3 days to visit and enjoy our time. In those 3 days, we visited the Monkey Temple, a place in Kathmandu where you can escape the noise and hassle of cars and motorcycles, and enjoy some quiet time, visiting the temples, watching the monkeys all around you, and perhaps even shopping for presents. Overall, this trek is a test of endurance. Travelers must navigate the risk of acute mountain sickness, dehydration, and respiratory issues caused by the dry air. The weather is unpredictable, shifting from sunshine to freezing rain and snow. The trail is shared with animals, yaks, donkeys, and horses, who carry the heavy loads required to sustain life in the mountains. Daily life on the trail revolves around simple comforts. The food varies from the staple rice and lentil dish known as dal bhat, to international options like pizza, pasta, and garlic soup, which is popular for its supposed health benefits at altitude. At night, weary trekkers rest in basic lodges, recovering from the physical strain. On the trek, you may encounter many animals, from domestic ones such as yaks and donkeys, horses, lots of dogs, and a few cats, goats, perhaps even chicken. If you are lucky, you might see the Himalayan tahr, which is a mountain goat, red pandas, or even snow leopards. We did see the tahr and even got to photograph it, but could not see the red panda nor the leopard. The people are amazing, all over the trek, from the Sherpas and porters that make everything possible, and they are the heroes of these mountains, to the guides and the inhabitants of those stunning places. They are some of the most hardworking people I've met, and at the same time the most optimistic ones. They always have a smile on their face, and the reason for doing this is simple. Worrying makes you sick, to quote our guide. Amazing applied psychology. If you get a chance to visit those places, make time to talk to the people, to get to know them. Always smile and greet them with a namaste, which means I bow to you, or dhanebad, which means thank you, whichever the case. And although difficult, this journey is a must-do for every trekker's bucket list. It teaches you about various cultures, religions, places and people, and perhaps most importantly, it teaches you about yourself, to become more humble and enjoy life like the Himalayans do. Thank you for listening and see you in the next video.